Can the Vols win it all with the way they've been playing? Great defense, average offense. Caleb will put that on the poll question, but first, let me get the initial answer from you. What say you, sir?
I'm going to say yes, they can. But I don't think it will be necessary for them because I don't think the offense will stay so-so the rest of the year. But let's just assume it does. I think this year there is a level of mediocrity among offensive players that I don't think we've seen in a long time. Is that fair to say, Dave? I mean, we just went down. We had to scratch this. I mean, we had to like dive to find quarterbacks that might actually be better than Nico when Nico's played relatively mediocre this year. And that's not a shock. I think once you hit December, I think defense really travels. And I think this year it's going to matter more than ever because here's the truth, Dave. The college football playoff is 3 to 4 games that's going to coincide with finals, Christmas break, all these things that get into that distract college kids that you would agree don't distract NFL kids, right?
Yes, they're going to class.
When there's distractions, is that more of a detriment to offense or defense? I think it's way more of a detriment to offense, right?
I think that maybe you're overcomplicating things just a little bit. I just believe that at the end of the day, how many great offensive teams have won it all as opposed to great defensive teams have won it all? Obviously, you have the Alabama run, and I don't care what you say, there was at least a great or elite defense that won all those championships. They may have had the offense to complement it, but at the end of the day, they had great defenses. Kirby Smart, what's he doing at Georgia? Very same thing. He's won 2 titles. So, Caleb, I just think still, even though the rules, Gary Danielson told me, have been bastardized in college football, it is still a defensive game. If you can stop people, you can't lose.
Yeah, no, and the reason that is, by the way, is because defense is more about talent than scheming. So what I mean by that, guys, if you're questioning, if you want to build a team that wins off defense, you have to have more talent than the other team. You can't win off X's and O's as a defensive-minded team. You only win off Jimmys and Joes.
I think that was very evident 2 years ago in 2022 when Tim Banks did everything he could to scheme around a lack of talent, and they still ranked 100 and something in pass defense. I mean, he did a great job given what he had, but it still wasn't enough to be at a championship level, not even close.
No, nowhere close. And that's the thing. There's the X's and O's, Jimmys and Joes argument. You can win with X's and O's on offense, but you need Jimmys and Joes on defense, period, end of story. That's why all the elite talented teams are defensive oriented because they got the Jimmys and Joes. So I think it's more about the fact that, because everybody talks about the defensive teams, you look at the patterns, they're the ones that typically win it. I think it's actually, Dave, been more about the fact that those teams have just had more talent in general, and that's why they've been able to be defensive led. Let's be honest, Dave, if Georgia, either of those Georgia teams or if most of those Alabama teams had to win a game scoring 60 points, they could have done it. And I mean, Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa and Stetson Bennett. I mean, all those teams, Georgia did win a national title scoring 65 points. Now, yes, they held TCU to 3, but they scored 65. So it's not like they didn't have the offense to go with it. But I'll still say, in general, I think the offenses are going to be much worse this year in the college football playoff than they have been in years past. And I think that plays to Tennessee's favor because, as we've always talked about, defense does travel. Defense is more consistent. It's not like college basketball where defense doesn't win championships because eventually you're going to run into a red-hot shooting team, and it doesn't matter how good your defense is, you can't stop them. That's not how college football works.
Well, and I'll tell you, I think Tennessee's offense is going to continue to get better for a reason that Derek just pointed out. But to reset the poll question, which quarterback will give the Vols more trouble? You said our message board said Diego Pavia, 86%, Carson Beck, 13%. That would have been, we would have been laughed off of YouTube. And now can Vols win a natty with okay offense and elite defense? Those votes are coming in, but so far pretty optimistic as our friend Derek brought up a great point that I want to get to. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? Banks & Jones, T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. All right, so Derek had this point that I wanted to get to. He mentioned Tennessee is going to benefit from Peyton Lewis in the red zone getting this playing time. It's like to see us go under two tight ends and run from under center with Lewis. Yes, I think Peyton Lewis is a definite power upgrade to Deshaun Bishop. And no offense against Deshaun, who was the player that got hurt before Lou Gehrig took over and didn't miss a game for like 58 years. Was it Wally Pipp? Is that who it was?
That was the prior to the Yankees movie, and I already forgot it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I got a feeling that Deshaun Bishop might be that guy. Oops, you got hurt. I hate that.
You could just say Drew Bledsoe, but you know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, or you could say Drew Bledsoe for sure. And let's face it, there used to be this old "it's good for the team" sort of thing, and let's look out for those guys that that were great team leaders and that got hurt on the field, and you can't lose your spot to injury. Well, let's just go to Peyton for that, because Peyton Manning will tell you right there that
they're like, that is total bullshit.
He lost his position to injury because the Colts went after Andrew Luck. That's an antiquated notion that really never applied in the first place. Are you telling me that Philip Fulmer or any championship coach would say, you know, I think Bob over there gives us the best chance to win, but Frank has been doing all the dirty laundry. He's been cleaning everything up, and he even bought muffins for us before practice the other day. So I'm going to go with Frank. Nobody's going to do that.
No, they weren't. And, you know, if Philip Fulmer did think that way, he would have started CJ Leak over Eric Ainge and Brent Schaefer in 2004. But Dave, you covered that team. Wasn't it like the first day of fall camp and Fulmer was like, yeah, they sure are better than you. Sorry. I'm starting to.
Yeah. So
did he always have the plan to start them secretly and just waited to make the excuse, or was it because did they just look that much better than CJ to co-start Eric Ainge and Brent Schaefer? Did he always have the plan that one of those two would start over CJ Leak before they even step foot on campus, or did they just look that much better when they set foot on campus?
Oh, no, I can tell you firsthand that was always the plan, because they got the lion's share of first-team snaps. That's when practice was open. So, yeah, I mean, nowadays...
Fulmer had never had any plans to start CJ Leak.
No,
ever.
I mean, nowadays you have to look out there and you have to think, you have to just listen to coaches and what they say to determine whether or not Milton was better than Hendon Hooker or not. And I do try to give them the benefit of the doubt. But back then, it was pretty obvious that when it got close to game time, Chris Leak was not getting any first-team snaps. CJ, or maybe 10% as opposed to 45%. And then you started to see Ainge get more. That's why when we were asked, I still remember that day. We were putting together the News Sentinel, the front page of the sports section. And I just was having lunch with somebody. I said, wouldn't it be cool if we did one side where you could do a sidebar on Casey Clausen? Eric Ainge. And you could do another side where it would be Brent Schaefer and have a picture of them right in the middle. And I remember John Adams looked to me and Griffith and said, well, who do you want? And Mike Griffith said at the time, well, I want Casey Clausen. And John goes, well, Dave came up with the idea. So, Dave, who do you want? I said, I'll take Casey Clausen. So he got to write a sidebar on Brent Schaefer.
Wait, Casey, but we're talking about...
Wait, I'm sorry, not Casey Clausen. Eric Ainge.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got to write the one on Eric Ainge. Sorry, I misspoke like 13 times.